All right, well, we're going to take two on this one. So I'm with Dusty Backer, and he's a young man that just smashed a heck of a elk out in eastern Montana, and I want to thank him for letting us use that footage. But how I met Dusty is there are some things going on right now here in North Dakota we're dealing with. It's something that I guess we're not new to, and that's CWD. And CWD is chronic wasting disease. Now, don't confuse that with EHD, which is epizootic hemorrhagic disease. That's what happened here last fall. Is we lost about, I know along the unit here in Bismarck, probably 80% of the whitetails. And what that disease is it is a midge or a little bug that in dry years lays its eggs in the mud, and it will come out and it feeds on deer and then infects them. And when they're infected, usually in about 7 to 10 days, they're dead. Some of them make it, but a lot of them die. And it was devastating last year in North Dakota. We've had a couple years of it, so pretty devastating. Now, CWD is chronic wasting disease, is a prion, and it is a slow-acting disease. And once they say, the Game and Fish and a lot of the biologists say once they have the disease, it's always fatal, which again I question a little bit, and we'll get into that later. But so I met Dusty. We've had some meetings and some changes going on, and it really hasn't affected me, but it has affected me because about 10 years ago when they found CWD in one of the units that was next to ours, they took away baiting. Now we are fortunate because I ranch and we farm. I'm able to put food plots in, so baiting is not that big a deal to me, but it is a right that I had growing up and for my whole life that just disappeared. And it disappeared even without any CWD cases in our unit. So for the past 10 years, we've not been able to bait. Now, if you're asking what baiting is what it is just using artificial. You can use deer urine, natural deer urine to attract deer during the rut. If you sprinkle corn out, use mineral salt or anything like that, that's considered illegal now in these units that have CWD. And one of the problems we have with it is that we think that there's only one side, and we want people to have all sides of it. And Dusty is not a biologist. He's not anything special. He's just a kid that works hard, loves to hunt, and he's gathered a lot of information. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about what's been going on here in North Dakota and how you got involved in it and why you're battling this so hard.
Okay, so I'm just one hardcore, not just a bow hunter, but rifle hunter, and I'm all about opportunity and just for really the state of North Dakota, and it keeps getting just pecked away at us really with the baiting restrictions. And so the Game and Fish, the baiting restriction means you can actually still put bait down, you just can't hunt over it. But I still have a problem with any restrictions in North Dakota because the numbers just don't warrant the restrictions. And what I mean by that is the Game and Fish have tested for 20 years since 2002. 2009 was the first positive, and in 20 years 40,000 deer tested. There's been 70 positives in the state, and 69 of those are from hunters turning their heads in or from other causes. So those deer didn't die from CWD, they died from a bullet or an arrow.
Because the average life expectancy of a deer is like 3.5 years.
3.5 years old, I think, nationwide.
Yeah.
So, and this prion disease, the deer can, they don't even get clinical signs. It could be 12 to 17 months before the first sign, up to 5, 6, 7, 8 years. There's just so many unknowns. And I just resort back to the numbers because still to date, there's been 0 confirmed death just by CWD in North Dakota. But as hunters, we're being restricted. And I'm all about opportunity. And with restrictions, we're losing opportunity.
Yeah, and I can understand if, like I said, we talked about this, if CWD did what EHD did last year,
right,
we would all quit doing anything that was even closely resemble or cause a problem. Because as hunters, and when you look at landowners, I think about landowner rights, Game and Fish, and I understand I don't own the deer, but I own the property the deer on. I take great care of them. There's a reason that we have a lot of deer on our place is because of the management and the time and effort that goes into it. And I believe, like we have talked before, like with COVID, I'm one of those guys, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I believe in going to the gym, taking vitamins,
Right.
natural immunity, and I can, I contracted COVID, was sick for a couple days, and I was fine. And again, I'm not making light of COVID and what happened, but again, I believe that we are no different than animals. The healthier your animal, my horses, your cattle, whatever, there's a reason that ranchers pump in mineral. There's a reason that they give those animals feed, is because the
Right.
healthier they are, the better they do. So for some of us, I pump a lot of Big and J minerals to my herd of deer. And when I call my herd, yes, I know I don't own them, but they're on our place. And I think that it helps them. And the crazy thing about this with CWD is that they're taking you right away as to hunt over bait. So I can feed deer on my place, and I get accused of that. They say, well, because you're on TV, you get to bait. No, I don't bait, but I can feed on my ranch. I can put out all the Big and J I want. I can feed them year round. I just can't hunt over it. So I'm kind of confused on this, why we're stopping baiting, we're stopping hunters. But as a non-hunter, if I was a non-hunter, I can feed my squirrels, I can feed the deer, I can do whatever I want in my backyard.
Yep.
But you as a hunter, are you losing that right to hunt over bait? And is there any scientific data that shows that using bait spreads CWD?
There is not one peer-reviewed document out there that baiting spreads the disease, and the reason for that is that the prion lives in the ground for decades, 80 years, 100 years. Again, it's another unknown. They don't even know. So whether it's a bait pile, a mineral lick, scrape, rub, they're licking each other out there, cornfield, bean field, hayfield. The prions are in the environment, but really, we're hunters. You don't see it, John. I don't see it. The deer just don't die unless we have an EHD outbreak or the winters. It's not, CWD is not the problem. It never has been the problem in the state of North Dakota.
Right.
Nationwide, because the populations, even like we've talked before, Wisconsin's population, deer populations has exploded, and they have a 15% prevalence rate of CWD. So if hunters have more opportunity, help control the population, we put good stuff in the ground, spreads the deer out, deer are healthier. It's a win-win.
Yeah, and I want you guys to know, it's one of those deals. I'm not a very political guy. I do voice my own opinion. I stand up for what I believe in, and that's one of the reasons I have Dusty here, is because I believe in educating people. Education. I'm a school teacher, and in our world today, it seems we are getting more and more indoctrinated and not educated. Our news used to be, when I was a kid, where they would tell you what happened. If someone got shot, they would explain what happened. They didn't pick a side. I'm not here to pick sides. I have my own beliefs on things. I want both sides of it, and that's why I asked Dusty to be here, because we're hearing the Game and Fish's side, which again, there's a link below that you can go to so you can watch the same meeting that we went to. They had 3 meetings that were specifically on CWD this year. I wasn't very happy with the way they ran them, because it didn't give us a chance to discuss them as a group. They let us go discuss individual matters with different game wardens or biologists. But again, I want everybody to have the information. And again, Dusty's not a biologist, but he's done a lot of research. We're also going to have a link to where you can go to look at the research he's done that shows the numbers and this is numbers that have come from the Game and Fish and come from other biologists and come from Dr. James Kroll, who is a leading biologist in the deer world and has been around for a long time. And he'll tell you that he feels that it's something that's probably been here forever, and that the deer will naturally take care of themselves. And that's, I think we've already seen in Nebraska, there was a study done that actually shows that mule deer had a gene that was mutated that was helping them fight CWD. So again,
Correct.
not bashing the Game and Fish. Again, it's a love-hate relationship with them. We all have that because we don't get drawn one year. We all want it to be perfect for us in our world. I'm just looking to share information. So that's why I'm giving you a chance to listen to Dusty and some of the information he has, a chance to look at the information that the Game and Fish has and see both sides. Because right now, all I'm seeing is just the Game and Fish's side on CWD. And not that I don't trust government, but things have been a little shaky out there. So I just want to make sure we have, a couple different sides to it.
Absolutely, and it's really for you people to just discern. We believe in you North Dakotans and everybody else watching out there. And, again, I'm just going back to opportunity. It's not that John's right, we're right, nobody's really right. Just we all need to unite as just hunters, whether you rifle hunt, crossbow hunt, archery hunt. We need to unite and just get more people outdoors.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I worry about is because every article you read, every convention I go to, they talk about how we're losing hunters. And, you know, to me, this is a way we're going to lose hunters. You know, when I was a kid, we didn't bait, but I would say the majority of people that are hunting nowadays, when they're archery hunting, they're using bait. When I look at, there's organizations in Bismarck, across the state, up in Minot, that deal with physically disabled hunters. That we're dealing with physically disabled vets.
Yep.
And there's no better way to get a clean, ethical shot than sprinkling a little bait out in front of you. And again, it's not about ethics, people. If you want to be on the ethics train and that's the way you don't want to hunt, that's fine. But don't take it away from someone else. And that's what I'm worried about, is that we've had this and we've utilized it as a tool in our toolkit for many years to harvest deer and control the population. And the number one way to control CWD is by population control. And instead of having sharpshooters and people going out and shooting all these deer like they've done in the past, which again won't get wound up on because they've spent millions and millions and millions of dollars, and there's been no change. We've had units down in 3F2. It's been no baiting for 10 years. It didn't stop the spread of CWD. Again, there's a lot of science out there, and there's a lot of missing science out there on some of this stuff.
Correct, and you brought up a good point too, just about the baiting. I want to touch on that for a second. Like, just not just getting kids and more people outdoors, but there's a lot of people, John, that just don't work full-time jobs and have families. They don't have time to go out there and just spot and stalk a deer without putting something on the ground, especially when there's no, you know, science behind the spreading of bait for CWD, and it gives them good, clean shots. And personally, we live off of wild game. The beef farmers probably don't like to hear it, but we don't buy beef. Me and my wife and 2 boys, we live off of deer and wild game. So
it is, and like again, I've said this. I think that as farmers, ranchers, outdoorsmen, we are very concerned about our herd, and we just want that information. Some of the questions we've asked the Game and Fish, we haven't gotten, and I'm not going to say the answers we wanted, because it's not the answer we want. We just want the truth. We want the science behind it, and I'm just worried about we might be losing some opportunities for kids, for anybody out there. Because yeah, again, I work a full-time job, but I'm a hardcore hunter.
right.
I will do everything I can to get my deer. I will work harder, outwork that person. But there's a lot of guys that get out there 2 or 3 times a year, and I know what it's like taking a child out. And if you sprinkle a little bit of corn in a bean field, you're going to have deer in front of you.
Correct.
And it's going to give you, you know, I just watched a video the other day that Prairie Grit did. They're an organization up in Minot, and they wouldn't have got the shots that they were looking at for those kids that were handicapped, that were struggling physically, you know, to get out in the field. They wouldn't get those nice clean shots they would get without sprinkling. I shouldn't say they wouldn't get, but the opportunity would be a lot less.
Yeah, it'd be a lot tougher for sure.
Yeah. And so again, are we taking away those opportunities? That's what you guys need to, I guess, look at. Is it something that you feel strongly one way or another? Contact your legislature, contact the Game and Fish. But again, listen to the information. I'll have some documents, like I said, that Dusty has put together, that will have links to Dr. James Kroll and to other scientists and other biologists that have done studies on this, not just what we have with the Game and Fish. So take a look at both of them. Make up your mind. Pick a side if you want to. But again, it's for the more you can be educated about something, the better chance you have of making the right decision. By the way, great job on that elk, man. That was awesome.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show, John.
Next time, take me along.
You got it.
All right.